Hi, I'm Buster McGee. I grew up in the San Diego, California area. I'm a graduate of USC, University of Southern California. And ROTC, got flying school opportunity through ROTC. And I went primary flight training at Malden, Missouri Air Base. And then went to Craig Air Force Base, Selma, Alabama. And then on to Luke. And I was class 59F. And I went on to Luke and Nellis. And in March of 1960, reported to Itazuki, 8th TAC Fighter Wing at Itazuki. Was in the 80th Squadron, Itazuki. Spent 2 years and finished that tour. Went to Myrtle Beach. And I was in Myrtle Beach from May 62 to December 64. And I was in the 352nd TAC Fighter Squadron. And then I went to Nellis, and I flew with Thunderbirds. I was the right wingman in 65, 66. And then, from there I went down to Hurlburt for that 2-month A1 Skyraider upgrade, and went to Vietnam and spent a year with the VNAF 520th Fighter Squadron down in the 4 Corps, doing 60% close air support for the ARVN, Army of Vietnam, and another 40% interdiction. So, and then from there I went to Lakenheath. I spent 3 years at Lakenheath, flying the F-100. And that's where I met my wife. My wife, Robin Angelica, was the she ran the occupational therapy clinic at the hospital. And she left the Air Force, left active duty, and we got married. And she came back and finished my 3rd year at Lakenheath. And at that time, I was suffering some disillusionment with what was going on, and especially in the fighter business, and people talking about going to staff jobs. And really the only reason I was there is because I was there for the airplanes and the fuel. Anyway, I relinquished my active duty, or my regular commission, and accepted a reserve commission, and then went around. This was in April of '71. We returned to the United States with a young daughter, born Shauna Lee McGee, born at the regional hospital there at Lakenheath. Anyway, flopped around the aviation world, could not find a guard or reserve job. The units were all full. I was a major, and the fellow, the squadron commander in Reno Guard, said, I can't hire a major. I've got my own people, you know, that have been hanging in here with me. And then I wound up, I did the next 15 years as reserve assistance officer for the Civil Air Patrol. But at the time I had a civilian certified flight instructor ticket, so I spent all my time out in the field with the different Civil Air Patrol units, giving biennial flight reviews. So I flew a real selection of airplanes. In fact, I flown 54 different airplanes, military end. My favorite, of course, is the F-100. And I've got a little over 2,700 hours, 2,700 and change in the F-100. The best part was with Thunderbirds. In 2 years, I got 950 hours. And a lot of that was 30-minute air shows, so it was a lot of flying. And that pretty much is it. I retired. I got the the 28 years commission service, mandatory retirement in March of 1985, and the rest is history. It was summer of 1964, and we just spent, I was in the, we were out of Myrtle Beach, 352nd Fighter Squadron, and we just spent 3 months in Saudi Arabia. It was kind of interesting because at that time, the Saudi pilots, if they had enough fuel, were defecting to Egypt. So the Saudi Air Force kept all their fighters over on the east coast of the peninsula, and we went over to the east coast and operated out of Jeddah. And what we were doing was the Egyptians would send their IL-28s, the bomber version. They would send them down over Somalia, Ethiopia, and then they would cut across and try and bomb Saudi airfields, because there was a big, there's always been a civil war in Yemen. That has been going on forever. And so that's what we were doing. We chased the ILs, but we never saw them, but we saw the bombs. Anyway, we finished the tour, and we headed home. Squadron headed home at 16 airplanes. And we flew up from Dhahran, and at that time we couldn't fly over Iraq, but Iran was okay because the Shah was still there. And we met KB-50 tankers right at the head of the Gulf there, and then went to the Van and over into Turkey, and landed in Incirlik, and then we had to leave some of our airplanes behind, and we only got 6 to take on home. And we were a flight of 6, and my favorite hero story for me was, we're flying along, and we're checking in with, the flight leader is Lieutenant Colonel McBurney, and we're just entering the Greek air traffic control, and our call sign was LAX. And he contacted them, and they said, say again call sign, and he said LAX. And they said, we don't understand your call sign. So I dredged back to my fraternity pledge days when we had to memorize the Greek alphabet, and I said, Lambda Alpha Chi. And Athena Center came back and said, Roger, Lax. And McBurney turned around and looked at me. And that's my best story.